Hello, solopreneurs. Today's session is social media has changed and what actually works now in 2026. And I want to be real with you. This one is not a tips and tricks session. We're not gonna be talking about the best time to post, how many hashtags to use. We are going to talk about what social media actually is now because it is not what it was when most of us started using it. And once you understand that, everything else starts to make a lot more sense. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move from here and we're going to get started. So, as always, a welcome to my Mastery 360 members who are right here in the Zoom room with me. And for those of you watching on YouTube, welcome. We have about 30 minutes length today, and then my members and I will sign off and go into our private discussion. So make sure that you check the show notes for resources, like and subscribe so you know when the next session drops. And until then, we're going to go ahead and just get into it. So we're just right here. We're just diving right in. All right. So what was social media? When most of us joined social media, Facebook first was it for many of us, right? Maybe around 2007, 2008, 9, 10. And it did exactly what it said it would do, right? It was social. You posted a photo, your friends saw it, you commented on theirs, you reconnected with people you lost touch with, oh, the high school friends, right? You shared what was happening in your life, and people who knew you actually saw it. It felt like the town square, right? Or a big group chat, or a bulletin board that everyone in your world actually checked. That's what we thought it was, right? That's how we learned to use it. And for a while, that's exactly what it was. But what happened, right? Two things changed everything. First, everyone got on it. Not just your college friends, not just your family, everyone. So, businesses, celebrities, news outlets, brands, strangers, and eventually every solopreneur with something to sell. Right? Second, the platforms became businesses, real businesses with shareholders, revenue targets, advertising models, the whole thing. And the moment that that happened, the feed stopped being about your people, right? It became about attention. So, whose content could keep you scrolling the longest? Whose post would make you react? What would make you stay on the app one more minute? The algorithm didn't care about your aunt's birthday photos or anything anymore, right? It cared about engagement. And engagement meant staying on the platform. So, this is the reframe I want you to sit with for a second. Social media didn't replace connection. It replaced television, right? Social media didn't replace how we connect with people. It replaced how we watch TV. Think about it. You used to come home, sit on the couch, flip through channels, let the networks decide what was on, right? You were passive. You were consuming, and the networks were competing for your eyeballs. And that's exactly what's happening now, except the remote is your thumb. The networks are all the platforms. You got Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn. And instead of NBC or HBO deciding what gets aired, it's the algorithm. And everyone, every business, every coach, every creator, every solopreneur is now their own tiny channel. All of us competing for our micro slice of airtime on someone else's network. That's what it really is now. So, what does that mean? Right? So, when you sit down and post something on Instagram or LinkedIn, you're no longer dropping a note to your community. I really need you to hear that, right? You are submitting a piece of content to a broadcasting system that will decide, based on its own rules, whether to air it or not. And those rules have nothing to do with how long you've been showing up, how good your work is, or how many existing followers you have. Right? Listen to that. They have nothing to do with how long you've been there, how good your work is, or how much your existing followers love you. It doesn't matter anymore. It has everything to do with whether your content fits what the platform is currently rewarding. in this platform, in this moment in 2026. That's the shift. And that is why so many of us feel like we're doing the same things we used to do and not getting anything back. And the truth is we're not failing. Our playbook is just out of date. So we need to update it, right? Let's update it. So what we're going to do today, we're going to walk through the major platforms one by one, and I'm going to give you an honest picture of what each platform was and what it actually is right now, right? What's working there and whether it's really a fit for you or your business. The goal is by the end of this that you'll have already made a real decision about where you want to show up and why. So with that said, let's start with where it all began. Facebook, right? We're going to start with Facebook because Facebook is where most of us did begin, right? And Facebook, we had some MySpace days, but it really changed when we got to Facebook, right? Facebook is probably the platform that has also changed the most dramatically in ways that are the most confusing as well, right? Especially if nobody explains it to you. So, what was Facebook, right? What was Facebook? It used to look like this, right? Facebook was the original town square, right? It launched for college students and then it opened to everyone. And for a while, it genuinely was where people lived online. You posted life updates, you tagged people in photos, you wished people happy birthday, you joined groups for your neighborhood, your hobby, your business community. And if you had a business page, you could build a following. And your followers actually saw what you posted organically for free. Right? It felt like an audience that you owned. You grew it. You showed up. They saw you. That was real. That worked for a while. For a while, it worked. What Facebook became. So what happened? Facebook went public in 2012, right? Shareholders, ad revenue, growth targets, and almost immediately, organic reach for business pages started dying. By 2014, people were noticing it. By 2018, it had really kind of collapsed completely. Today, if you post on a Facebook business page, a fraction of your followers will see it, right? Unless you pay to boost it, a fraction of your followers are going to see it. Facebook essentially turned your page following into a list that you have to rent back from them through ads. You hear that? You build this following, then you need to rent it back through ads, right? That's the only way they're going to see it, really. So, and at the same time, the personal experience of Facebook changed too, right? The news feed became noisier, more political, more overwhelming, and a lot of people quietly stepped back from it, right? I know I had. They still have accounts, but they don't really use it the way they used to, right? The thing most people don't know now is where Facebook actually did keep working. So that's what we're going to talk about quickly here, because there are some things that it does well. Facebook is a platform where most people are either wasting time or feeling guilty about not showing up right now, right? Let's be honest, like that's kind of what's happening right now. So here's what actually works. So the first thing we have is groups, right? If you have a community, a membership, a course, a program, and it lives inside a Facebook group, that still works. Groups are one of the last places on Facebook where organic reach is real. Really, final frontier, right? The algorithm treats them as high trust spaces. People are there on purpose, they opted in, and that matters, right? That's a really important part. So you can reach them because they're there intentionally. The other thing is events, right? And this one surprises people. Facebook events still have genuine discovery power. They show up in the events tab, they get shared between friends, and they automatically remind people who's marked themselves as interested. So if you run retreats, workshops, webinars, or live sessions, creating a Facebook event is still worth doing if you're on this channel. Right? The other thing is your page. So your page works now less as a following, almost not at all as a following, but as a trust signal. So this is something that we saw kind of shift quietly. Like people use Facebook to either verify that you're real. That's one way, like, is this person real? Or they'll check your page for reviews. If you have, depending on what the business is, right? It might be for contact info, hours, or just a general sense of legitimacy. So it becomes less of a content channel and more of a business directory, right? Your page should exist and look current, but you're not posting into it and expecting a ton of reach, right? That's how that's working. The other thing is Messenger. So if your business is on there, people still use Messenger to ask questions and reach businesses directly, right? So if someone messages you there, you definitely want to respond, right? It matters more than a lot of people realize. So again, if you are putting yourself there and really using Facebook, you want to pay attention to Messenger because people are still using that to ask questions and get clarity. Then we have Reels. Reels do happen on Facebook as well, right? So that short form video, right, is getting, I think, like 2 to 3 times the reach of your static posts on Facebook right now. And the Facebook's audiences are a little, older than TikTok, which actually makes it a bit more relevant for a lot of the type of offers that our audiences are doing, right? So if you're already making reels for Instagram, cross posting to Facebook is actually it translates very well, and it doesn't cost you anything extra, right, to do that. And then the final frontier here on Facebook, ads. They still work. They don't work in the way that they used to be, like, whoa, it's a free for all, it's all gonna work. But its paid targeting is still amongst the most powerful available. So if you have a budget and a very clear offer, you have to write their conditions, then yes, Facebook ads still absolutely work. So what doesn't work? Business page posts that you expect a ton of organic reach. It's not going to happen, right? The average page post reaches 1 to 2% of your followers. That's not a typo. 1 to 2% of your followers. Like I said, it's a pay to play space. So if you have 1,000 followers, about 10 to 20 people seeing it, right? So posting consistently to a page without any of the above support is largely is going to be invisible, right? Posting links, that's a big thing on all these platforms, really, is to start getting familiar with their rules and attitudes towards links. So Facebook actively suppresses posts that send people off their platform. So a post with a link is going to get significantly less reach than the same post without one. Right? The platform wants people to stay on the platform, right? So keep that in mind, depending on what your efforts are going to be when you're in that space. So using Facebook as a primary discovery channel, if you don't have a community there, you're not running events, you don't have an ad budget, for most online solopreneurs, that's the honest truth, is that it's not going to really work unless you're doing those things, right? So Facebook is a supporting player now, but it's not a lead platform like it once was. So who is this really for in this day and age in 2026? It's for you if you're already running a community or group there, right? It's for you if you run live events, retreats, or workshops that can benefit from that discovery that events provide. It's for you if you have a paid budget and want some sophisticated targeting and you're willing to jump into those ads, right? It's for you if your audience is 40 plus and spends a lot of time there, right? Still a viable channel in those ways. And if none of those are you, your Facebook presence is just kind of can be limited to just focusing on it as a professional placeholder, right? Keep it current, keep it real. Don't spend a ton of your energy or time trying to make it something that isn't for your business right now. Keep it updated, but if you have it, but there's not a lot of reasons, if you're not falling into those categories, to do a ton of work in that space, all right? So there's Facebook, all right? Let's jump into the next one. So we got Instagram, dun, dun, dun. So what the heck was Instagram when it first started? It used to look like this. Instagram launched in 2010 as a basic photo sharing app, which was very new at the time. Simple, clean, beautiful. You posted a photo, your followers saw it in order, chronologically, and that was it. No algorithm deciding who deserved to be seen, no recommendations, no reels, just a square photo and a filter. For small businesses and solopreneurs, this really felt like a gift, right? Build a following, post consistently, show your work, and people would see it. Photographers, food businesses, fitness coaches, creatives, Instagram really gave them a visual portfolio that actually reached people. And it felt earned, right? It was organic, it was real for a while. For a while it was. So, what did Instagram become? They followed the same path that most things do, right? So in this case, very closely to Facebook, because Facebook acquired Instagram in 2012. So ads came, the algorithm came, the chronological feed disappeared in 2016, right? 10 years ago, and a lot of people felt that immediately. Then came stories. Then IGTV, who remembers that? IGTV, right? Then the Reels, Instagram's direct response to TikTok, right? Then shopping features, then broadcast channels, then AI recommendations pushing content from accounts you don't even follow in your feed. Every update pushed Instagram further from a place to share with your people and closer to a content platform competing for entertainment time. By 2026, now, right, up to 50% of what you see in your Instagram feed is content recommended by AI, right, from accounts that you've never followed. Instagram isn't showing you your community anymore. It is showing you what the algorithm thinks will keep you scrolling. Understand that. That's a huge differentiator right there, right? So what is Instagram now, right? Instagram in 2026 is primarily a discovery and entertainment platform. You hear that? Discovery and entertainment platform. That's why we have these lovely, red curtains here, right? It is not a reliable way to reach the people who already follow you. Is that not crazy? That sounds crazy, right? It's not a reliable way to reach people who already follow you unless they regularly engage with your content. That's the caveat, right? So your existing audience seeing your post is no longer the default. It has to be earned every single time. What Instagram is good at is putting you in front of people who you don't know yet, right? So this is a flip on that bonus there. The algorithm is actively trying to surface original content from smaller creators to new audiences. So that's a real opportunity, but only if you understand what the platform is rewarding right now. And the other big shift is Instagram is now functioning as a search engine. So people can type menopause coach, permaculture design, corporate trainer for burnout directly into Instagram search. And the keywords in your captions, your bio, and your content determine whether strangers find you, right? It's not about just the hashtags anymore. It's actually very little about the hashtags these days. So what does work on Instagram? So we're looking at original content, right? And that really goes across the board, original content, especially in days of AI, right? Instagram is actively penalizing reposts and recycled content. So if you've been on the channel for a lot, you may see channels that really only exist just to repost a ton of other stuff. There are now penalizing people who do that in the sense that they're not going to get a ton of reach, right? So accounts that repost content 10 or more times in like a month will get removed from like the recommendation spaces entirely. So that is no longer a hack. That is working that people were doing in the past, right? Which I know my people weren't doing. So, but the original natively created content gets 40 to 60% more distribution than it used to, right? So the platform does reward you for making something real. The other thing is Reels for discovery, right? Reels are Instagram's primary tool for reaching people who don't follow you yet, right? The platform tests your Reel with small non-follower audience first. And if it holds the attention, then, and they go, hey, people are liking this, then it will expand, right? So short, specific, watchable content with a very clear point of view travels so much further than your polished and generic stuff. The other thing that does well right now is carousels, right? Carousels, multiple image or slide posts, they have the highest engagement rate for any format on Instagram right now, which is great for those of us who don't want to do videos all the time, right? They keep people swiping, which signals interest, and it's great for teaching or sharing a framework or making a point. So carousels really work. The other thing to note, as I mentioned before, is keywords over hashtags. Hashtags no longer drive that meaningful discovery on Instagram, right? It used to be like 30 hashtags. Oh, it's not it anymore. Keywords do. So write your captions the way someone would search for what you do. Very similar to what we used to do back in the days of SEO on websites, right? So think about what your ideal client types into a search bar and use that language naturally in your content. The other thing that works on Instagram are saves and DM shares. So they are now the strongest signals to the algorithm. Not likes, not comments. When someone saves your post or sends it to a friend, Instagram reads that as, ooh, high value content and will distribute it even further, right? Because people are liking it. Let me keep it going. So create content worth keeping, worth sharing. And lastly, of course, we got stories, right? Stories, most of us are familiar with that. Stories for warmth. They don't reach new people. They reach the people who already follow you. So that's one of the only ways to really connect with your community in that sense is keeping it warm with stories, right? Stories are your relationship maintenance. So they keep you present and human and keeps your audience warm, right? That warm audience, it keeps them warm between those bigger posts. So what does it work on Instagram? Reposting content from other platforms, right? Especially with the watermarks from TikTok. I think we saw a big influx of that the last couple of years. That is now being detected and suppressed from Instagram. Same thing, generic content, right? So safe, polished, could have been written by anyone or AI kind of posts. Instagram's algorithm is specifically designed to identify and deprioritize low originality content, right? Again, in that flood of AI generated posts, the platform is rewarding specificity and real perspective. So posting links expecting traffic, that never worked, right? So Instagram has never been great for driving clicks off platform for the main reason because they don't hyperlink. You would have to copy paste a link and stick it somewhere. It's a ton of extra steps for someone who's just used to the ease of a platform, right? This has not changed. So think of Instagram as awareness and trust, not as a traffic source. If you're going to play with that, there's other ways to drive that to a more specific action, okay? You also can't measure success by likes. We really never should have, but but we definitely can't now because now in the new days of Instagram, likes are the weakest signal on the platform right now. So if you're judging your content by likes, you're reading the wrong data. Hear that. You're reading the wrong data. So watch what you want to pay attention to are your saves, your DM shares, your profile visits, and your follows from non-followers. That's what we want to look at. So who fits on Instagram now? Is it for you, right? Instagram makes sense for you if your work is visual and demonstratable, right? Retreats, physical training, food, design, wellness. If you can show what you do, Instagram rewards that. And it also rewards if you're willing to show up as a person, right? Talking head reels, behind the scenes, all those things, real opinions. The accounts winning on Instagram in this day and age are specific. They're opinionated, they're human, they're not polished brands, right? Real people with a clear point of view. And if it, you know, and it works if you're thinking about discovery, right? Reaching people who don't know you yet rather than broadcasting to an existing audience. So if you're more text-based, idea-driven business, strategist, a consultant, a coach whose work really lives in conversation, Instagram can still work, but it requires more intentional translation of your ideas into kind of a visual or video or carousel format, right? It's doable. Just know what you're signing up for, right? That's the main thing. All right, so Facebook, we got Instagram. Let's see what else we could squeeze in. TikTok. Dun dun dun. So let's talk TikTok. What the heck is TikTok? Okay. TikTok launched in the US in 2018, and most people over 35, we wrote it off immediately, right? Dancing teenagers, lip syncing, viral challenges like we see on this stuff here. It felt like it had nothing to do with business, nothing to do with serious work, nothing to do with anyone who wasn't in high school at the time, right? A lot of us just skipped it. And honestly, in those early days, it was not an unreasonable goal. But let's talk about what TikTok became because something unexpected happened. During the pandemic, everyone got on it, right? Not just teenagers, adults, professionals, business owners, doctors explaining medical procedures, lawyers breaking down cases, chefs teaching technique, coaches sharing frameworks, and teachers teaching. And something about the format changed what was possible, right? TikTok, and this is very important to understand, TikTok was not built on your social graph, meaning it was not built on who you follow. It was built entirely on interest and behavior. So if you watch something to the end, you'll see more like it. It'll go, oh, they like this, right? If you skipped it quick in 2 seconds, gone. The algorithm learned what you actually wanted fast and with no loyalty to who you already knew. So it's immediately adapting and wanting to show you what you wanted. And that made it the most democratic, really, platform ever built for content. So a brand new with 0 followers could post one video and reach 100,000 people overnight, right? If the content was right, right? The right stuff at the right time. But your follower count meant almost nothing, right? The content was everything. And that was genuinely refreshing, right? It was really new. No other platform had done that yet. So what is TikTok now? TikTok now is in 2026 is really the world's most powerful organic discovery engine, right? And it's also one of the most demanding platforms to show up on consistently. The average age, the average age of a TikTok user is now in their early 30s, right? It is no longer a teenager's platform, but it is still a platform built around entertainment, education, and fast value, right? People are there to be entertained and learn something quickly. They're not there to be sold to. Most people aren't anywhere to be sold to, but it's really not tolerated in that space, right? There is also something else, a very important reality to name. In this space, TikTok has faced ongoing regulatory pressure from the US and other markets. So its future has been uncertain at various points, and that matters if you're deciding whether or not to build there. So, because the ground can shift in ways that are outside of your control. So, again, just have that in your sight if you're looking at what to do on this platform or to really make it part of your foundation. So what works on TikTok now? We're talking native unpolished video, right? TikTok actively rewards content that feels like it's made for TikTok, not repurposed for somewhere else, right? Raw, direct, real. A physical trainer filming in their gym, a menopause coach talking directly to the camera about something specific, a cake maker showing a technique. The production bar is very low and the authenticity bar is very high, right? Which is great for those of us who don't want a lot of hoopla and just want to show up. It also does well there is education and problem solving, right? Content that teaches something specific, answers a real question, solves a real problem, consistently performs, right? Not generic advice, specific, useful. Here's why your sourdough keeps collapsing, outperforms. Here are my top 5 baking tips every single time. The other thing there is consistency over perfection. TikTok algorithm needs data to understand your content and who to show it to. That means showing up regularly, not going viral once. The accounts that build real traction are posting consistently and let the algorithm learn. The other thing that works there is comment engagement, right? So TikTok weighs comment activity very heavily. A video with genuine comment and conversation outperforms one with passive views, right? Responding to comments, even responding with a new video, is how the platform works. So that's what we want to really pay attention to, how you're engaging, the time that you have to show up there. And then of course searchability. TikTok is now used as a search engine, especially by younger audiences. Spoken words, on screen text, and captions all help the platform categorize and surface your, and decide what your content is, right? Say what your video is and say it clearly. I know I've used it. I'm not a big TikTok user, but I've gone and used it when I'm traveling somewhere to see all the tips and ideas. And it really works great as a search engine. I did enjoy that. So, what doesn't work on TikTok? Watermarked content from other platforms, right? TikTok detects it and suppresses it. So we can't copy paste it and throw it on there. Overly promotional content is a no-go, right? Leading with your offer, your program, your sales pitch, people are going to swipe immediately, and the platform is built for value first always. Really, that's what all we should always be aiming for, value first. Also, sporadic posting. Now, there are platforms that are incredibly forgiving for sporadic posting. TikTok is not one of them, right? One video a month is not going to give the algorithm enough to work with. So if you're going to be on TikTok, you need to show up with some regularity or the platform simply won't learn who you are. So is this your space? TikTok makes sense for you if your work is demonstratable, right? You can show something. If you can teach something quickly or explain it in a way that's interesting to watch. It makes sense if you enjoy doing video, you don't mind talking to the camera, with a relatively low production pressure. Excuse me there. It makes sense, if that's something that is comfortable for you already. It works especially well for physical trainers, coaches with a strong teaching style, food and product businesses, anyone whose niche has like a curious or learning oriented audience, right? It's a harder fit if your work is deeply nuanced, incredibly relationship driven, or requires long context to explain. It's not impossible, It's just harder, right? So, and it's worth saying this clearly, for many solopreneurs, TikTok really is one of those optional platforms, right? It's not a platform that you need to be on to have success for business. So if it doesn't feel right, that's a valid decision, right? That's fine. Okay, so we've gotten through. Now I should be wrapping up by now, but we have two more that I want to cover, and and I'm trying to decide whether we do it or whether we jump out. But actually, now that I'm looking at it, y'all, I am thinking we need to have a part two. So today we have gone through, we got the big ones, right? The Facebook, the Instagram, and the TikTok. So what's going to be next is we are going to go over LinkedIn, YouTube, and Substack in that same way. So with that said, I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to drop out of here for a second, and we're going to zoom over here to the end. Oh, here we are. We're going to zip over here to the end, and I'm going to share this lovely screen with you all here. There's the next steps we want to go through after we look at the platforms is then really making those decisions about what works best. So stay tuned. We're going to have a part two. This one was way more in depth than I expected to be, but that's why we do these. That's why we show up. It's really about community learning, community sharing, and giving the real deal stuff. This is real deal, lessons and information, not just some cutesy, perfect little session for everybody, right? So this is where we are now, where we'll go ahead and we'll take a break. So for everyone else, my Mastery 360 members, go ahead and stay in the room. We're going to go ahead and talk about what we just covered and get practical. Bring your questions, confusion, the platform you've been avoiding. We're going to talk about it honestly. To the rest of you on YouTube, thank you so much for being here in today's session. I hope this gave you a real picture of what social media actually is in 2026 and where your energy is best spent. Stay tuned for the next three that we're going to cover. And if this was useful, please share it with another solopreneur who needs to hear it. Like and subscribe so you catch our next session, and check the show notes for resources and how to learn more about joining us inside Mastery 360. So we'll see you all next time. Thanks so much.